Hello everybody, hope you're doing marvellously well. We're back with another Fact Friday and we have a fun thing to try out. So I do hope you had a marvellous week. It's always fun to have a frequently asked questions Friday on Friday. And this one's rather good because we have a really nice little toy. At least I hope so. We haven't opened up and checked it out yet to try it. But in the meantime, please go to producelikeapro.com, sign up for the email list. You can also get a whole bunch of free goodies and you'll be notified of any new competitions and all the other fun stuff that we do. But before we get into some questions, I want to try this. Here it is. Our friends at Fender emailed us yesterday, and said it was Martin at Fender, hey Martin, and asked me, do I want to try out the Acoustasonic Strat? And I had seen photos and I saw somebody's review from a month ago, Paul David's review, and I thought, I want to try this out. So he sent one over. Pretty darn good service. Ask and thou shalt receive. So here it is, nice case. Ooh. Looks rather lovely. Well, it is the Acoustasonic Stratocaster, so go figure, it's a Strat. What I like about it is it's immediately pretty light because of course it's acoustic. But after watching Paul's video, I noticed it had a 5-position selector. And apparently there's like an electric sound and then there's all these different acoustic sounds. But all of that's great. What's the most important thing to me? Probably the most important thing to you. We can talk about all the specs of the guitar, and we will, but how does it play? Well, let's find out. First, it's in tune, I think. It's in tune. It's all rather lovely. It's gorgeous to look at. And it's California made Corona, so it's an American guitar. It's rather gorgeous. It's got a beautiful neck. And I always have loved that feel. You know, when you pick up vintage guitars and they've got all the varnish worn off the back, it's my favorite. Oh, it's super shreddy. Let's plug it in and hear all these different sounds. I think acoustically it could work really well in tracks. I'm not going to have any problems rolling off the low end. We'll have to hear what it sounds like in a track. There's always been something I loved about arch tops. 335 was my main guitar in England for the longest time. I love feeling, you know, the guitar vibrate. Edition 5 Core Acoustics, Sitka Spruce Mahogany Dreadnought and Sitka Spruce Rosewood Concert with slotted headstock. Oh, by the way, you've probably noticed we've got it going through our Tone Master Deluxe Reverb amp. So I'm not DIing this, I'm putting it through an amp. I think if you DI'd it, you'd probably get a more natural acoustic, but hey, I'm a guitar player. This is the kind of dumb stuff we do. I like it. So it's got... Oh! What is that doing? So is this like a blend between the two? I thought it was just going to be a tone control, but it's some kind of blend, which probably explains why it says position 5 and then gives 2 sounds. Okay, so position 4, alternative acoustics. First one, it says, intimate vintage-inspired voice that's articulate and bright. Best for fingerstyle. Ooh, that must be the B. That's fat and warm. Let's go to this. It says fingerstyle. I tend to play claw hammer more, you know, so it's more of a finger and pick. Position 3, percussion and enhanced harmonics. Adds body pickup to the above voice. So one is, oh yeah. So that's A. So A is all the way like this. So it's a Sitka Spruce Rosewood Auditorium, tight and brighter for more modern pop sound and detailed mid-range, perfect for strumming or fingerstyle. Then it adds the body, which it does. I'm not one of those guys that does a, you know, look. Position 2, acoustic and electric blend. Okay. Oh, you can hear the electric coming in. And there's 2 settings. So that's blending between acoustic and electric, and then this is full-blown electric. Must be just that pick up the air. It's fun. Like I said, being really super slinky. Wow, so one setting must be the A setting, super mid-rangey. It's really driving the amp nice. The lights in here are making it buzz. There you go. Go over to here. Prettier. Super low, slinky action, plays really well. Nice wide frets, so it feels more, you know, it feels more electric-y. I think it's what they want to do, isn't it? They're making an electric guitar with acoustic qualities, or an acoustic guitar with electric qualities. I play acoustic all the time for recording. Out live, I think this just might give me a whole different set of tones. I don't play that live that much anymore. I used to a lot. When I worked with Dave Jordan, we would take things like acoustic guitars, mic them, then take the DI out and put them through amps and use pedals with them, and then blend the 2 sounds together and get some really, really unique stuff. This is, for a recording guy, a really, really nice tool to try those kind of things. I think you're going to find it's going to be on a lot of records where I'm blending acoustic ideas. I'll mic it as well, but I think also this idea that, you know, it has a very unique sound, combined with the big, big deal, which is probably what they're really going for, is the fact that it's so playable. Super slinky. I have no idea what the other reviews have been like. I mean, I like things that are a little left of center. I feel like I'm a little left of center, you know what I mean? I feel like I like things that are unusual, that I can work with, and that can give me new and interesting sounds. And so this is going to be a lot of fun to try out on recording. Tune back some videos, you'll see me using it, and definitely you'll see it in some of the downloads we get, and you can make up your own mind. It's really cool. I love the look of it. You know. Thank you. Let's move on to Fact Friday questions. What are your favorite reference tracks for indie alternative bands? Trust me, the floodgates are going to open because everybody knows that I'm a Queen fan, but did you also know I'm a huge Joy Division fan? Did you also know I'm a Cure fan? That I'm a David Bowie fan? I love so much great music. I listen to Zeppelin like everybody else. Love Pink Floyd, particularly The Wall is one of my favorite records. Huge Peter Gabriel, Genesis, Kate Bush. I mean, there's a period of music that I absolutely love. And so for me, when you talk about indie alternative bands, my mind immediately goes to Joy Division. And I reference Joy Division a lot. There's some stuff that I love, like in Love Will Tear Us Apart. I'm going to grab a different acoustic. On the choruses, it's like it's got those on the choruses. I absolutely love those kind of parts. I think the reason why I'm talking about this is I want to listen to inspirational parts, melodies, production ideas. I don't care if it's the most modern thing. That is irrelevant to me. Recording technology has changed so much so that now virtual instruments and digital recording means that everything is super fat and wide, 20 hertz to 20K. A virtual instrument's so perfect and huge and massive and recorded brilliantly well. All of this is fantastic. And the fact that we got extended low end that was never available to people on vinyl or cassette, all of this is fantastic. That doesn't mean that I don't want to go back and listen to Joy Division and get incredible ideas from. I mean, you know how many times, if you've watched me before, I've written bass lines that are like, all of that comes from Peter Hook. The way that Peter Hook would go. He would just drive home notes. So yeah, Joy Division, huge. The Cure to this day are the indie band to end all indie bands. They're the best alternative band, along with Joy Division, New Order. This stuff keeps me enthralled. Smiths, absolutely love Johnny Marr's guitar playing. I mean, I listen to those bands for inspiration every single day. We can be doing any kind of track, and I'll go back and listen to How Soon Is Now to hear those alternating guitars. I'll go and listen to Peter Hook's bass tone on Transmission or Isolation. I will listen to The Cure, pretty much everything. Lullaby, I've used that 100 times for references. David Bowie, Ashes to Ashes for vocals. I know that's not indie or alternative, but to me, growing up in the UK, in England, at that period, late 70s and early 80s, it was amazing for indie and alternative music. And even the popular music was indie and alternative. Please remember that Joy Division Love Will Tear Us Apart was a top 10 single. Everything The Cure did was top 10 singles. So very blessed. So for me, it's an interesting question because I go back to the classics. Killing Joke. Geordie's guitar sound. He's using a big Gibson hollow body and he's got drive and chorusing and such good stuff. Go back and check out those bands. You want guitar sounds, you want bass parts, you want arrangements. That stuff is amazing. I don't give a schnizzle what genre it is. That always inspires me because those bands always push the boundaries. Now, don't get me wrong. I can listen to Peter Gabriel records every day. I can listen to Queen every day. But I also love listening to things that are a little left of center because they inspire me to produce interesting sounding music. And yes, I do love, guitar players that can shred. I love listening to Jarko, all of that stuff. I love musicianship. I love Steely Dan. I love Asia and Gaucho. I mean, trust me, these are all incredible records. But those indie bands, alternative bands of that period are so inspirational for production. And especially if you've got like a 6-4-1-5, chord progression that somebody's given you, it's just, how many of those you've got? You can suddenly go into that, and then, The Edge. The first few albums, U2, phenomenal guitar playing. It's just so inspirational. All that, and when he's doing like harmonics, layered in with like single lines. It's great. That stuff is really inspirational. Don't get me wrong. Love blues rock, grew up on the stuff, love Brian May, but I also love that period of indie and alternative music. I find it's in my blood. It surrounded me when I was a kid at school. I could hear it just every day, and it was art and creativity mixed with great production and great songwriting. All of those bands that we talked about all wrote massive songs, massive songs. So that's the stuff that inspires me. The reason why I bring it up and I speak so vehemently about it, because I strongly believe you can't listen to music through modern ears and be dismissive of it just because it doesn't have like massive low end and huge hyped highs and is super squashed and loud. The truth is music in the late 70s and the early 80s, some of it's the best sounding and produced music of all time, but some of it does suffer from not having the digital kind of spectrum that we have. And who cares? When I go back and listen to the Pretenders, I'm telling you, Mystery Achievement is still that dum 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 dum. Still my favorite bass sound of all time. But I put it through my Genelex, and it doesn't have quite the low lows that I can get now. But the idea and the intention of that bass sound, that dum 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 dum, is still to me the best bass sound ever. Be careful when you're listening to stuff. It doesn't have to necessarily be super current to be inspiring. Yes, of course, there's great current music. Don't get me wrong. But I go back to things that changed the world, that musically drove everybody to be so creative. And I forget and don't care about the fact that it doesn't have the extended low end that we listen to, that it doesn't have a ton of sound design on it. I don't care. I go back to that music to listen to parts and to guitar sounds and melody and production ideas. Like I say, Love Will Tear Us Apart. It's silly little things like that I love. If you listen to that Jay Clifford song that I gave out, Paralyze, that is me doing Joy Division with a folk rock artist. I mean, put a link to it here somewhere. Go listen to that song, Paralyze. That's me thinking Joy Division, but with an Americana artist. So that's the way I like to think. So wonderful question. Do I listen to indie, alternative music and reference tracks? Yes, all the time, no matter what genre I'm doing it. How do you handle a phrase or a musical piece you feel is part of some song thrown at you from your subconscious mind? The irony of this is I'm using a clip from a melody in a song that I've reversed and altered to an unrecognizable degree, which isn't original but certainly has become original. My conclusion was to let the copyright guys figure it out, but just wondering what your experience with music, you recognize bits of tunes that seem uncannily familiar. Yeah, I mean, if you take a melody and reverse it and then alter a couple of notes, yeah, it's going to be pretty much unrecognizable. I mean, it depends on the intention. If you want to take a melody deliberately, like every bar, flip it and then change a couple of notes, flip it, change a couple of notes, I suppose it's going to be a completely different melody. It's going to have different timing because if it's da 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 da, you reverse it, all of those pushes are now going to be on the front half of the beat, not the da da da. They're not on the back half of it. So yes, of course it's going to be quite different. I suppose for me as an artist, my only mental question would be, am I doing that because I don't have a melody idea? Or am I doing it as an artistic choice? If I'm doing it as an artistic choice, then I love it. But if it's just like, oh, I can't think of a melody, I'm going to take a melody and reverse it, that's a weird kind of thing to get my head around. But I do know that some of the best stuff I've done is when I've twisted and changed things of my own and, really enjoyed the outcome. So I don't know, there's a great phrase that everybody's heard, and that is, good artists borrow and great artists steal. I think a talent in a DJ, for instance, a classic DJ, was to find music that people loved. Sometimes, when you would go to a club, and I'm talking about 80s, 90s, you go to clubs, and you'd hear something and it would be inspirational. You had no idea what it was. And you go up and talk to the DJ and they would tell you about some, early 70s funk record that they'd found that was just amazing. I remember getting into a band called Mandrill. They had a song called Holiday. I went to a club and this guy was playing Holiday by Mandrill. I didn't know Mandrill. I knew the Meters, I knew a lot of other 70s funk bands, but I didn't know that band, I didn't know that song. So my point is like that DJ was able to pick something up. This was in the early 90s, pick something that was relatively obscure. I'm not saying it's obscure, but relatively obscure, and like bring it forward. So there's a skill in that as well. There's a skill in being able to identify something and bringing it out. But yeah, it's a tough one. I think if you've reversed a melody, then altered a few notes, it's no longer the same melody. And as long as your motives are pure because you wanted to try something artistic, then I feel good about it. I think, that was Bowie. He would take lyrics and chop them up and randomize them. I don't know if he ever took anybody else's lyrics, but didn't Mark McGrath, wasn't some of their hits lines from other songs put back together? I think he talked about that. Like he took different lines from different songs. I've known that to happen many times where people take lines from other songs and then rearrange them. I mean, there's art in that. There's art in everything. I think all that counts is the end result. If the end result is amazing, it justified it. None of us can do anything original without owing it to somebody. If I pick up an SM57 and stick it on a speaker cone, I am number 459 millionth who has done that. There's nothing original about that. If I then put it into a 1073, into an 1176, I'm just doing what every other great guitar engineer has done, using a 57 on a 12-inch speaker going into a 1073 into an 1176. That's like a sound upon itself. That's like a chain of half the records we love. That's very important to realize that that's a big part of it. Everything we do, we are standing on the shoulders of giants. There's nothing 100% original unless we, there's all those joke memes you see where somebody, is critical of somebody's process. And the joke meme where it breaks down and it ends up that you have to use vinyl because digital's not real, you have to use vinyl. And then somebody says, no, you can't use vinyl, you should use a wax cylinder. No, you can't use any kind of recording, you just have to play it live and memorize it, blah, 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 blah. And then you can't use classical instruments, you have to, whatever. The point is you could argue anything. I do think the art is the most important thing. And if you create something unique and amazing that is pretty much unrecognizable, I don't really give a schnizzle how you got there. It's like everybody has their process. And if your art is amazing at the end, and even if it was like 4 different pieces of things reversed and cut up and stuck together, if it comes out as unrecognizable from those elements, but completely unique and amazing, then God bless you. That is what we want. We want great art. So great art will always win. And if it means that you listen to it and you hear somebody else's influence in there, just credit them. Credit them and make sure that you give credit where credit is due, because that really pretty much solves all of these questions. If you do something that was directly influenced from somebody and is staring you in the face, then credit them, because your art won't suffer from the fact that you've credited somebody for using their ideas. And that's the world I want to live in anyway. I want to live in a world where we share ideas and we credit each other and we collaborate. So it's a good place. Well, that was a wonderful Fact Friday. Thanks for those great questions. And thank you, Fender, for sending over the Acusonics Stratocaster. I really enjoyed it. You heard it only through the amp. You didn't hear a DI of it. I'd be intrigued to hear that. And you didn't hear a mic on it. These are things I'm going to try. I just wanted to quickly put it on camera because I was excited. It's light, it's incredibly well set up, very playable, has a beautiful Stratocaster neck, and gives me lots of options to play with. And I don't think I think I just ever so slightly scratched the surface, and I really want to get in there and find out what it can do with pedals and mic'd up, through amps, direct, all kinds of stuff. It definitely gives me a lot of tonal characteristics that are going to be a lot of fun to play with. Thank you for Fender sending it over. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. Please give us a bunch of comments and questions below. This is where we get future Fact Fridays from, so please ask some questions below. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.